Hello, my name is Jorge Avila, and today I'm going to present my results of the challenge 3 that is called Server and Database Command, part of in Mexico Program Backend Developer Certification. Let's start. Well, let's start with a summary. The principal objective of this challenge is to develop the Spring Boot REST API to integrate researcher profiles and academic articles from Ser API and store them in a PostgreSQL. The goal is developing a backend application in Java to automate the process of archiving researcher profiles and published articles. The impact that is enhance efficiency by automating data retrieval, reducing manual entry time, enabling real-time access to publication metrics. Talking about the problem context is that the universities need a reliable tool to automatically import researcher profiles and publication from Google Scholar for database evaluations and funding decisions. The principal problems are manual, that is time-consuming data entry, the errors and inconsistencies, and the fragmented researcher data. The relevance of the challenge and the important is that automation saves time, ensures accuracy, enables real-time metrics, and supports data-driven institutional decisions. The hypothesis of this challenge is that if a Spring Boot REST API application with SER API integration, JSON parsing, and PostgreSQL database configuration is developed, we are going to improve institutional efficiency and to enable automated researcher data management for university research databases. Well, talking about the backlog, this challenge is divided in 4 parts: Sprint 1, Sprint 2, Sprint 3, and the final submission. And talking about Sprint 1, the Sprint 1 is like an only investigation, and the principal tasks were document Google's Scholar API basics via SER API, create an initial backlog and roadmap, set up the GitHub repository, document API response, format, and error handling. It's like investigate all the topic, and compile a technical report in a PDF. Deliverables is the roadmap with timeline and objectives, the technical report PDF with API analysis, and the GitHub repository initial with a readme.md. Well, talking about the Sprint 2, here I started coding. This sprint is called API integration and development, and the principal tasks were develop Java MC model class in this like author, implement get request using Spring Boot, this to get the author information by the ID, create configuration file and class, implement the exception handling for each case, and deliverables was a PDF evidence with GitHub repository and updated Java doc. Well, in this sprint I code, so let's see IntelliJ and see what I did. Well, here we have IntelliJ. My app is called Researcher Data Integration, and my project is divided in 5 folders in this moment. That is the config folder. In the config folder, I have all the configuration for each case, like the REST template config and the Scholar API configuration. This class specifically is to extract the information from my application.properties, where it's my API, and another folder is the controller. Here we have my endpoint. In this moment, I only have one endpoint, that is the information from the author by the author ID. We have the exception folder, that is my custom exception, like APK exception, author not found exception, external AP exception, and finally my global exception handler, that is custom exceptions messages. Now the model folder that I have the author using, in this case, Jackson to parse the JSONs, author search response to store authors, the error class to send a error message, the interest that is used in author like a list, and finally my service, my author service, that is the business logic. Here we have the request from the API, from the SER API, and also the response to get the author information. And that's all. Let's try the application and run. Here's my application running. Now let's try the AP endpoint. Here we have a core and the application returns all the JSON for the of with the information of the author. If I make a bad request, it's going to return an exception with a message author not found if the author is not found. And that's all for this spring. Well, talking about the sprint 3, that is called database integration and testing. And this that sprint was the largest sprint for me because take much time to develop this principal task. And the principal task were design PostgreSQL schema for articles table, implement database integration with JDBC or Spring Data. In this case, I use JDBC, and create post and get endpoints for articles. And this is the get endpoint was to get information about the articles using the Google Search API, and the post endpoint is to add information to my database. And another task is add robust error handled for DB and API, and Postman API testing. Deliverables was a PDF evidence report with repository link. In this screen, I'm going to show you first the code, and after that, I'm going to show you the API testing with Postman, and also the information stored in my PostgreSQL database with pgadmin. So let's see what I did. Here we have the code or my project. The structure is like the same that Spring True, but I add new folders, that is the DTO, and I change the model folder to entity, and also I add the repository folder. So let's explain please the first the database configuration. Here I have all my database configuration using the information that is stored on my application properties, that is all these variables. Also in the controller, I create article controller, that is the endpoints that I use for this string, that is the endpoint get mapping that get all the articles from the database, and also the post mapping that import articles to our database. This import article receive a body with an array of investigators, and also need that. And the DTO, I create article response DTOs to the connection, and also the import request DTO and the import response DTO, that is that the program shows you by the console. And in entities, I only create the article entity, that this entity is using Hibernate to make queries to the Postgre database, and I select the name of each column that I have in my database after I'm going to show you my database and that. And talking about exception, I only add two exception, that is database exception. This exception if the database fail or the connection to the database fail or something from um, attribute that has a validation fail, and this exception is going to handle. Also the validation exception from like the same. And in repository, I create an article repository. This using a GPA repository framework from Spring. And also this only like make like a queries from to the database. And the service, I create article service, and here I have all my logic. In this case, I create like each and I don't know, I don't have where like a method to extract like each attribute from the JSON, because the Google search um, returns a JSON that is so large JSON. So I extract specifically the attributes that I need. Also, I create like an method to create the keywords, because the JSON from Google Search API doesn't return the keywords. And also I create like a method to simulate all the keywords that is going to have that article. And another important thing is that also that this I only send the request, and also that. So let's go and run the application. Here is the application running, and we are going to use Postman to test this API. So here we have the principal get. We are going to get an author by ID that is Spring 2, but we are going to test this. And also it works. Returns name, affiliations, email, interest. This is from Spring 2 work. Let's do first. We are going to import a new authors to our database. You can send like the researches. You can and the researches you want to the article you want. Here is Rodolfo Osnos and Luis Mena Camarem. Articles per researcher. If you want one article, two articles, three articles, we are going to use 3 articles. And also we are going to send the petition. Here we have the results. It returns 201 created response code. And here we have all the articles that this returns. And we are going to look at the database. We are going to refresh this database. Oh, sorry. I almost dropped it. And I'm going to do the query again. And here we have all the articles stored. If you want to get the articles between the API, you only use the get, and you get all the articles that we have stored in our database. Also that it's all for this spring. I think it's the hardest spring I ever made. So I'll continue with the backlog. We have the final submission, that is this video. Prepared this executive presentation of the accomplished work, and deliverables as the Word presentation PDF, and MP4 video presentation with program demo. Oh, sorry. And the roadmap is the general objective is to develop a Java application that consumes data from shared API and store the data in a database that is PostgreSQL, as you see before. And we have the roadmap for divided in four parts, and also that. And the evaluation criteria of this spring: first, the satisfaction, mastered Java, Spring Boot, SerAPI, and PostgreSQL using Agile Scrum practice. The scope: deliver all the 16 requirements and 7 user stories across 3 sprints. The innovation: applied solid MVC and full Javadoc and robust error handling. The quality: clear GitHub structure, README, and optimized database design, and also use an clean architecture. The solution for this sprint was the progressive GitHub workflow. I created branches, the repository, and I made also PRs to have a good workflow, and the functional API to extract data from their API and store it in PostgreSQL, and the clear documentation that I have using Javadoc and the README that I have in my GitHub repository. The conclusions: build a production-ready REST API with Spring Boot, SerAPI, and PostgreSQL. Deliver all the objectives, string, and user stories on time. Wrote clean, solid-based code with MVC, Javadoc, and strong error handling. And the recommendation that I take of this challenge is to keep refining Spring Boot, because it's the first time that I use the Spring Boot framework in a project, and database optimization for scalability. Also, I think this challenge was a little hard for me, but I think I did my best, and I think that imports so much. And thank you for watching this video, and see ya.